What's up everybody, Wasatch Will here, and I am doing a video response to my friend Devin at Backcountry Exposure. He is doing a sweet little giveaway with some nice looking gear, and he has asked for video responses to share your scariest backpacking experience. And so, my scariest backpacking experience probably goes back to just a little over a year and a half ago. I think it was 2015, September 2015. Friend Blake and I were out on a couple nights up in Middle Basin in the Uintas, and it was actually a twofold experience. The first one involved me directly. I had set up to try and take a picture of a little waterfall, maybe an 8-10 foot waterfall, and I had my pack on still, and I was trying to step down the little ledge because we were at the top of the falls, and I was trying to get a picture of the whole fall. So there's a step down about a foot down from the main ledge down to another little lower shelf, and I was trying to step down to it to get a better angle of the waterfall with my camera. And the momentum of my pack, unfortunately, took me further than that little step, and I had no choice but to fall off the little ledge with my backpack on everything. It wasn't a huge drop, only about 8 feet maybe, but with a loaded pack on, that's really scary, and especially when the landing involves a bunch of oddly shaped rocks covered in water and algae, very slippery, and I really thought in that fraction of a second that I fell that I was going to break a leg, break my knee, something bad that wasn't going to let me hike back out on my own with that trip. And somehow, as scary as that was, that fraction of a second, I landed with just some bruises on my hands, and or came away with just bruises on my hands. I landed in a way that I was able to absorb the shock with my knee, with my backpack on still, and did not injure my legs in any way. Perhaps the greatest tragedy was actually my camera, little point and shoot that I had. Obviously fell out of my hands at the time and fell into the water, and that was it. The end of the life for that camera. So, fortunately I had my phone with me, and it was a new phone at the time, new Samsung phone that takes really good pictures, and I've loved using it ever since for a lot of my pictures over the last couple years. So, that was the scary experience for me. Same trip, next day, Blake and I were hiking up, left our camp, and we were hiking up to Hayden Peak, a very prominent peak off the Mirror Lake Highway in the Uintas, overlooks Mirror Lake, and we were coming up from the other side. We had done the peak, made it up to the peak successfully. We were coming back. Blake gets ahead of me, and this might have been scarier than my experience for him. He gets up a couple hundred feet in front of me, and all of a sudden I hear a really loud shout as I hear rocks tumbling, and a bunch of rocks tumbling down off a cliff. And I really thought he had fallen and slipped off the cliff. I think he thought the same thing too at the time. Luckily for him, what kept him from going off a vertical drop of probably at least 100 feet was a boulder that he was able to wrap his arm around. He had gotten off the course a little bit, went a little too far left instead of staying high up to the right, and yeah, he hit some loose scree, leg slipped out from under him, and a boulder that he was able to put his arm around was able to grab him. But for he and I both, it was a near heart attack, because from my vantage point, it looked like he was slipping off a cliff, and he was thinking the same thing too. So unfortunately for him, he, again, the boulder was there, and he was able to grab a hold of it with his arm somehow, and that, kept him from slipping down the rest of the chute and down the cliff. Yeah, the unfortunate part for him is it did kind of dislocate his shoulder a little bit, and I believe he had to get a little bit of a surgery on that because that re-aggravated some other problems that he had with it and with that shoulder. And so, but he's all good now for the most part, and back into canyoneering, backpacking. So, crisis number 2 averted in that trip, and we were both able to finish out the trip and hike back safely. But definitely scary seconds for each of us in our own respective falls there. So learned to be extra careful with footing and steps there. So to say that's my scariest experience backpacking in my memory so far. I would say a second place scariest experience for me I'll throw in was the ghost of Road Canyon. But it wasn't really a ghost, it was just a sheet of ice that looked like a ghost. But it was scary for a second. But no, it was cool. So anyways, that is my video response to Backcountry Exposure. So go check him out. Check out his video contest if you haven't. And, go ahead and jump in and enter if you want. That's it.